Good morning. Yes. Right, it's got to do two things here, one of which is set up my timer, or we'll be here all night, and I know it's the morning, so you bear with me for a moment while I set up a clock. And then I'm going to set up something else, so there will be a wonderful things, computers. And if you ever do presentations, this is an app that costs €1. It's called P-Clock, and it is absolutely fantastic. So the other thing I'm going to do is this is a 360-degree camera, and I'm just going to put it down here and record this for fun. It's not going to blow up, I hope. So, yes, I am the MVP, which is either minimum viable product or managing vice president of the ADD team. And I'm not making that up, that's actually the real name. So, I do cover a lot of stuff. My job is primarily ensuring that my team of analysts look at topics to do with building things. So, particularly software development, and there's everything we're talking about here involves software. There's no beer coming out of the systems without software. So, today, first of all, I should say Gartner, world's largest IT advisory service. We are not consultants. We sell advice and knowledge. So that's what we do. So we answer questions and we do research, both numerical and theoretical research about how we're going to deliver stuff. So, not very long to talk about this topic. Making the connected self work. So what on earth does that mean? What is the connected self? Well, first of all, I wanted to ask a question. One of the things I get to do is travel a lot, and I go quite regularly to Austin, Texas. And Austin, Texas has this thing called the Town Lake, which isn't actually a lake, but never mind. It has a very nice run and cycle track all the way around it. And if you do half of it, it's about 10K. Now, I'm not a very good runner. You can probably see that from looking at me. But I like to go run around it. And I've been using my Microsoft Band 2 here, which is currently broken, unfortunately, but it's all right. I have an Android Wear one just to keep track before that gets repaired. So this is a picture of me halfway around, and this is the map of Microsoft Health dashboard showing where I was going fast and slow, mainly slow, round there. It was very hot and very humid, and I'm asking you the question, who cares? Frankly, I'm sure nobody in this audience cares two hoots about the fact that I ran 10K round Austin Lake. So, the first question you have to ask yourself about connected self is, who cares? I mean, seriously, what are you going to do with this? Why are you doing it? And why do they care? How are you going to make it happen? So the question I want to answer by the end of this session is, how are you going to make connected self important to people so that they'll actually give you money for your product? Now, I was saying earlier, it's not all about making money. It's actually about making impact and change and doing good stuff and making money. So let's look at how we can do both of those things. So this standard Gartner format, we have 3 key issues, which I've reduced to 3 sections: market, actionable, and ecosystem. What does actionable mean? And ecosystem, again, ecosystem is fundamentally important. I'm sure you're going to hear this all day till you're sick, fed up of it. But let's start with the market. So there's a fish market with how many? 1, 2, 3 fishmongers sitting there trying to sell their fish. And there's a famous quote from, I think it was Gordon Bell, a little-known Scot who was the person who wrote the first book about entrepreneurship. It's actually still a very good book. It's very relevant. He had the wonderful saying, is technology's like fish. If you leave it on the shelf, it goes off. So the question is, are there any people who want to use your product? So if you're building a connected self device, are you going to be able to sell it to anybody else? A common mistake that many, many, many entrepreneurs make when they start is to confuse themselves with a market. Okay? Does that make sense? So just because you think it's a great idea doesn't mean to say that anybody else will sell it. So I was going to come up with a tastogram. This is a dentally mounted product that is Bluetooth connected to your phone, so that if you're fed up of just being able to send photographs of your lunch to your friends, now you can send a taste direct to their mouth. Okay? Kickstarter project, anybody? Do you think anybody would actually buy it? Interesting question. So you start the taste in the mouth, how do you stop it? So you have to start by thinking, is there genuinely a market for the thing you're building? And if you look at Kickstarter and the equivalent, there's a huge number of things out there that nobody is going to buy. And it's kind of sad. On the other hand, this is a Gartner presentation, so we have to have charts. It's in our contract. So this is a chart taken from a document which is called Forecast Wearable Electronic Devices Worldwide, 2016, by my colleagues Angela, Brian, and Michelle. And you won't be able to read it, but it says smartwatch, head-mounted display, body-worn camera, Bluetooth headset, wristband, smart garment, chest strap, sports watch, and other fitness monitor. We don't even list smart jewelry, which is actually quite an important sector in there. So as you can see, this thing is growing, and where are we? 2016, about just under 300 million units being sold, most of which are Bluetooth headsets. Now, the Bluetooth headset is the big bar of pale blue. So if you look at the pale blue, it's more or less the same going forwards, but my goodness, a lot of the other stuff grows. So that by the time we get to 2020, we're seeing up there nearly 500 million, so it's almost a doubling over the next 5 years of the number of devices. And that's because somebody is going to figure out what they're all for. Okay, so how many people here are wearing a smartwatch? Okay, again, what are the rest of you doing here? All right, how many people bought an Amazon Echo last week? Hello? Seriously? Go and buy one! Right, they're great fun. They're very good music quality as well. So, you need to understand that, yes, this is a growing market, but it's only going to grow if you're building stuff that is actually useful. And don't think I'm being silly here, because a lot of the projects aren't. So, how do we make it useful? You make it useful by making the connected self devices be actionable. It's all very well doing this. So this is one of my sleep patterns measured with said Microsoft band. So it tells me that I had good restorative sleep despite waking up 10 times and only having 1 hour and 9 minutes of restful sleep. The question is, what was the rest of it? Anyway, so this chart here comes up and tells me what my sleeping was like, and it's not great. Didn't feel too bad, but the question is, what do I do about it? Okay, so it's told me I'm waking up, but it doesn't tell me how to solve that problem. So it's really important to actually take actionable advice off this measurement. So when I'm running, I know I'm slow. I know I have a tendency to stop and look at things and take photographs. So I need something to remind me to speed up, and you can actually get that. And there's products out there that will allow you to have people send motivating messages to your headphones as you're running, and things like this that are actually really, really encouraging, that make it a more enjoyable experience. It's more actionable. So medical systems, obviously things that are saying your blood pressure is too high, lots and lots of really useful things that you can do. So measurement is useless. Okay? It's interesting, but it's fundamentally useless. So here is another thing from one of my workouts, or in fact, this is cumulative information over my gym sessions, and it tells me the things that burn the most calories of all of my exercise. It tells me the exercise that I should really be doing all the time is Turkish get-ups. No, is it? No, is rowing machines pretty good, etc. So this means that I can start targeting my exercise programs around the things that actually have the most impact on me. So that's direct action. It's an actionable recommendation that I can drill down into the Microsoft dashboard and get back. And I need that information. So what are we doing? Right. What is the point of having these sensors? So I've got the first one there. It's fix the emergency now. So if I've got a medical system that is detecting that I'm about to have a heart attack, then I can tell the person to lie down. I can use NHS Scotland's wonderful APIs, call for an ambulance. Somebody's coming. Sit down, relax, try and cough to get your heart action going. Fix the emergency. That's actionable. Tell me how I can improve. How can I sleep better? Is it going to tell me to get better blackout curtains? Is it going to tell me to have cocoa before going to bed? I don't know. Something like that. And then the last one, this is something we talk about at Gartner a lot, which is, what does good look like? So I ran around Town Lake in whatever it was, an hour and 10 minutes or something. Is that good? No, it's not good. I know it's not good. But the system didn't tell me that it wasn't good. It's not saying Where should I improve? What should I do better? So if you're going to build something for the connected self, it's not just about the tech, it's about that whole value proposition of coming back and saying, how can we make this better? So the example from the car production system, £30,000 a minute for downtime. Oil industry, if your pipeline is stopped, it's like $1 million an hour if your pipeline is frozen. So you need to be able to actually know this is going to happen. These are all good things to do with these systems. So I'm going to come back and talk about the ecosystem again. Common theme. So this is came into my email the other day. Under Armour running shoe. It's got sensors built into it so it can detect various bits and pieces like how long your stride is and how fast you're going, and probably measures your pronation and other runner stuff like that. And why is that interesting? A connected shoe. Okay, so Nike have been doing these, blah, blah, blah. Connected shoe sounds like some piece of bad sci-fi, but the real answer here is that it's part of a product suite. So you can get your Under Armour shoe, and it connects up to Map My Run. Map My Run connects to other things. It connects to services which will be able to come back and monitor it, compare it, assess it. And what is fundamentally important here is this is part of a product management approach. So people like Under Armour and Nike are amazing at doing product management. Most of us here are technologists. Anybody not technologist here? Few people are not. What are you then? Just a marketing person. Just a marketing person. That's terrible. You're saying if you're marketing, you're going, I'm a marketing person. Without marketing, this tech's useless. Right, okay. Okay, so don't be embarrassed about marketing. We're not really laughing at you. So why is this important? Product management is about understanding the life of how people will use it. Because typically in projects, we're building a piece of technology, we throw it over the wall and we forget about it. This is completely against the lean approach to building things. Project approach to building things ends up with useless dead-end products that we can't do anything else with. So what we're really looking at here is a move into a product on its own for connected self, IoT, or anything is useless. You have to think of it in terms of a product. Even if you're a technologist, you have to think, how's it going to fit in? How's it going to be used? So this is a beautiful example of it. So this shoe on itself is a shoe until you add all the software components that come with it, that supply with it. And you get all the charting and assessment stuff and mapping and competitive things in there as well. This gets even more important when you start looking at health. So if you look at a company like Vitality, formerly known as Pru Health in the UK, Vitality is a South African company that owns a lot of private health insurers around the world. And they are heavily connected into ensuring that their members are healthy. So as a Vitality member, you can get discounted devices from all of these people, and you can connect up your devices to your health account, and they actually pay you real, genuine money. They give you folding money at the end of the year if you're healthy, because that's how much it saves them on your insurance costs. That's pretty amazing. Actually give you real money. So if you are building something that is designed to measure health or fitness, you really need to fit into this ecosystem, because this is giving the end user genuine benefit in a way that you can never, ever, ever do it. There's another thing you need to know. Let's come on to that in a moment. Community. Strava. Any cyclists here? You all on Strava? Yep. So the entire cycling world runs on it. So you see the aftermarket product there to go on your steering column that says, Strava or it didn't happen. Strava is about building a community around cyclists. It's about sharing routes. It's about sharing performance. It's about coming together, competing with yourself, showing how good you are, competing with other people. So you really need an element of community. That's also true for the Vitality products. Vitality and many of the other health bands enable you to build community around it. word of advice, if you're building something, don't attempt to make your own social community. It won't work, so you have to use something like Strava or Facebook or whatever. But this is hugely important. So you've got your own information, and I go back to my question at the beginning, who cares about my running? Me, nobody else. But in Strava, you're in a community of people who really do care about it. And it's an incredibly well-connected setup that you can join if you're doing this. Yes, come on. Oh, here we go. Now, how do we join stuff? Ecosystem's a nice vague marketing term. Sorry, but it's true. How do you make the ecosystem work? Business agreements and APIs. Now this is Samsung Health, which is another community, so S-Health. So if you have devices like an S7 or whatever, I was supposed to have a Fit 2, but it hasn't turned up yet. It's coming. Lots of connected devices. If you buy something from Samsung, they all connect up to each other. They're all part of this environment. And there's lots of other people. All of these applications here are connected into Samsung Health using the APIs in order to log information, analyze information. So there's probably a sleep assessment product there that you can download that will come up with recommendations, connect you up to a social community of other people who are awake in the middle of the night. So if you're building something, you have to provide APIs and you have to conform to other people's APIs in order to spread it. So this is back to standards things. APIs are wonderful about connecting things up. Make sure you have RAML and Swagger definitions for your RESTful APIs so that it's easy for other people to connect up to it. Be open, okay? You can't do it all. You can't all build Watson, you can't all build voice recognition systems, you can't build image recognition systems, you can't build a healthcare system. So what you have to do is assume that you are part of a connected world. And it doesn't matter where in this chain you're starting. You could start with the app. If you're a software developer, you're not going to be building the earbuds. Those are Icon X Samsung earbuds on the left, which are, as it sounds like, Bluetooth connected earbuds, but they also operate as full health monitors. So they do step count, heart rate, all the rest of it, just by putting them in your ears. Lots of exciting things out there. So if you're building something like that, don't come up with your own protocol. Use a standard Bluetooth connection. If you're building something for an app, don't make it just run on one platform. Make it available to everybody. And if you're building an app, make sure it has fundamentally good user experience because people won't use it if it doesn't. And if you are building something on the server end, build out APIs so that these can all plug together. You cannot do it all. Another common misconception, back to the fishmonger, they think they can do everything. Typical small company believes that it's capable of delivering that whole value chain, and simply you cannot do that. Start simple. Complexity is the enemy of mobility. If you're going to deliver a system that's used in mobile devices, small devices, handheld, wearable, whatever, you absolutely have to have a simple interface. So if you've got something in the ear, it talks to you. If you've got something on the watch, it has to be in big letters so that you don't have to put your glasses on to read it. One tap. Make it easy to happen. As things go along through the year, you need to start building out your APIs, you need to understand how people use it, and you need to absolutely build in analytics. Okay? Without analytics in your products at every stage in the chain, you don't know how people are using it, you don't know what they're doing with it, you can't improve the product. So you absolutely have to build in analytics there. Lots and lots of things in there. Missed out network of partners, but that's obvious, isn't it? You can't do this alone, said that. And over the year, monitor what your analytics are coming back. See the bits that people found difficult to use. So if you've got an application, where were the errors? Where did it crash? Which screens did people sit and look at going, oh, what's that? So if you have devices that are, if you're making devices, look to see how well they're connected. Look to see how often they fail. Look to see how the battery died. Analyze all of that and bring it back. And use that to improve your product. But don't increase complexity. Keep it simple. Because if you don't keep it simple, nobody will use it. So, that's how I think you build connected self. Simplicity, actionable advice, easy to use, that simplicity again, ecosystem of partners, and drive it out there so that it's a product. It's not just one bright idea. It's part of the bigger picture. So, thank you.
So I have some, I can't speak. I have some questions prepared, however, you don't necessarily need to hear from me. So have we some questions from the audience for Richard? Come on.
Shocked.
Oh, there
into
we go.
silence.
Bob's got one.
Okay.
Excellent. Fantastic.
It's coming.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, Richard. Thank you very much. My question was, I chair a company which is in the timber business. I want to cut this short. We can get down to 20 meters anywhere in the globe, species, growth rates, everything, all that stuff, disease. The problem we've had is, and we've got timber experts, is running in at an industry you would think on the face of it would like to know all that stuff, if only to trade the assets. So the advice you've given is very good there, but we needed, I think there's something here with a startup business like that where you've got a great algorithmic value on the surface, but need to have techniques that take you left and right on the vision. And in this case, it was a counterintuitive thing. And the counterintuitive thing was one of the big oil companies needed to do carbon equivalence on assets for totally different, you might argue, spurious reasons. But however, it's come through. And I just wonder how you think the advice, which I recognize is very good, applies to that when you're in the maelstrom with your great app, and how you do that left and right thing in your peripheral vision. To stay with the game, to get a different answer than you first thought of?
Well, I think that the fundamental thing about everything, whether you're making screwdrivers, hammers, or complex algorithmic apps, is that people use them for things they were never intended for. So, screwdrivers are used for opening lids of pots of paint, and hammers are used for everything. So you need to be very agile about looking at it and not be precious about it. So if you find an opportunity, you need to grab it now. So assessing the opportunity is actually very difficult. And I think we go back to the point earlier about how you don't just build a technology, you build a solution. So you need to look at that solution and can you stand back from it? So on the surface, it sounds like you've got a solution for looking at trees, assessing trees, but can you stand back and say, is that actually a product line for assessing it? Generically speaking, in marketing, you'd call that brand extension in some ways. So you have to be cautious about it. One of my favorite stories is about Lee and Perrin launching a range of dessert sauces. Now, it's an absolutely true story. They did. Nobody's ever heard of them because guess what? Nobody bought them. So as long as it is in your vision and it's not somewhere completely elsewhere, yes, I think that makes complete sense. And this is, again, flexibility. And one of the reasons I was talking about the analytics is that you often find that people are doing something you'd never thought of. But the building analytics is going to give you a lot of information about the demographics and behavior of your users, if you're looking at it from that level. And then you can go back and say, well, why is this person using it? Why is this person looking at it? And then you can start investigating it. But without having that data, it's speculation.
Thank you.
So.
Any more? So I've got a question I'm going to ask and be a bit selfish, given I've got the floor. I can do that, can't I? And I guess in a way it's related to the analytics question. What about that feedback loop? So you talked about not just giving a report, giving actionable insight. Yes. What about where the action is not the right action, hasn't been the right advice, could be tailored? Any advice to the audience in that scenario?
So that in the case, you mean where you've given advice to somebody and it hasn't worked?
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Okay. Or like when my job won't up, for example, gives me advice that I know hasn't quite worked or hasn't been the right scenario.
Well, I think the most important thing is to recognize that if possible, and then be absolutely honest about it. So one of the key things here is that if you are in this business, there's fundamental risk. One thing I would say is if any organization looking at health really needs to be certified, and make sure you've got good lawyers who actually understand the market and the health implications of anything to do with health recommendations, because you will go to jail if you say it. And I'm not joking. You will go to jail, and I'm not talking about fines or anything. If you give the wrong medical advice based on your technology, you will suffer serious consequences. So I think the best thing to say is that recognize the trends, and see, this is going the wrong way. Are you doing something? And come back and actually have a relationship with the client. Again, while this is a great product in terms of the band, it just tells you static things. It doesn't come up with continuity. It does assessment. And I think feeding that into an engine of some kind, such as a Watson, to say, is this going the right direction? Is this heading towards what good looks like? And then if you're heading the opposite direction, you can say, whoa, what are you doing here? And then try and shut it down. So I don't know if that answers the question, because it's fundamentally difficult.
Yeah, no, it does for me. So has anyone in the audience had time to think of another question? You're making life very easy, I'm afraid, for Richard.
That's good.
Okay, in
That's
which case
unusual
I guess
for
we
me.
can
Okay.
let you go take your seat.
Okay, thank you.
Please join me in thanking Richard again for...
Cool.